know and love come to you like the sound of equipment being thrown from a moving van, the sound of dead cell phones and oil rigs, the sound of empty parking lots and school buses. They love to live and live to love. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Children of America, the White Stripes.
Hello, come on in. The water's great. My name is Ryan Schaap, and this is the hardest podcast to podcast. Well, I'm not going to lie, and if there was a better forum to speak on this, then damn it, I'd like to hear it. I am still riding very high after two sweaty, loud, jam-packed shows at the Commodore Ballroom here in Vancouver. 2 stops on Jack White's No Name tour. Holy hell. It was unreal. It was incredible. You know, coming off the last time I saw Jack White perform in 2022 on it's never underwhelming, but I definitely left the Pacific Coliseum whelmed. And I think he did too. It was one of the weaker Jack shows I've ever seen, right up there with when he had twisted his ankle and played most of the show barefoot with a tensor bandage on. But these shows were incredible, outstanding on so many levels. The way he is approaching music, he is approaching live music, hell, recorded music too right now. The way the band is dialed in, just tight as hell. They're locked in an incredible groove all night long. I can't say enough good things about it. Again, I've never seen the Commodore that full before, and with the surprise opening acts, late announcement of the opening acts, it's very cool to see so many fans there so early. You know, normally before the headliner, everybody goes to the bathroom or buys a beer and you can sneak up pretty close. Nuh-uh, you needed to be there for the opening act. Night 1, straightforward Jack solo show. It was great. It was leaning towards more his solo material than, say, the White Stripes tracks. He played 6 of them. One was Dead Leaves, one was Seven Nation Army, Union Forever. But night 2 is, without a doubt, the best solo Jack White concert I've ever seen out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them. And it's the second best overall Jack White associated performance, sitting in second place, silver medaling it behind the White Stripes on the Icky Thump tour here in Vancouver. Again, night 2 was outstanding. He dipped his beak, 11 White Stripes songs. He played Let's Build a Home. He played I'm Slowly Turning Into You. He played Screwdriver. He played I Fought Piranhas. He played Stop Breaking Down. It was a hell of a smattering of the first album. So the first night, decided in the name of rock and roll not to wear earplugs. Wasn't the best decision I've made, not the worst. Friday morning was a little slow moving. My ears were ringing real good. Night 2, though, that Friday night, I put the earplugs in just barely, and it did the job. I have to give a quick shout out. On night 2, I was going to go to the show with my dear friend Josh Custodio, who you've heard on the Black Math episode. The poor guy was battling pneumonia last week and unable to go, and straight up, like, just a sad turn of events. Like, could not go, knew he would be in really rough shape if he went, and just a heartbreaker, because this is a dream show. This is a dream venue and just a dream tour. So I believe Josh is feeling a bit better, but man, I felt really bad for him. So it came time to get somebody to step in, and that was our dear friend Mike Noble of the lovely band Hotel Mira. He was on the 3rd episode of this podcast discussing My Doorbell. I felt if there was a White Stripes Jack White fan that would the most coveted ticket in town spring on him rather last minute, it would be him. I sent him an ominous text early in the afternoon saying I need help with something. On night 1, I went with my lovely wife, Amanda. We arrived early. We were handing out hardest podcast to podcast business cards with our QR codes. And we just started with the diehards in line. Shout out to the first person in line who was there since 7 a.m. that morning. They were already following us. So, hell yeah. But we made our way through, talked to some fantastic diehards, people that were from all over North America. Actually, somebody that was in line from New Zealand, which is cool as hell. We spread the word of the show, of this podcast, because it's all about growing our footprint on this podcast. We saw Jack White at the Commodore. I went with my dear friend Mike Noble of Hotel Mira, who headlined and sold out the Commodore last year. The band that opened up for Hotel Mira that night at the Commodore was the fantastic band Fake Shark, and their lead singer Kevvy is on the show this week. And we're talking about a lovely, timeless White Stripes track off of The Style. We're talking about Apple Blossom. At this point, it's time for our call to action this week, and that is to hit pause on this podcast, and you're going to go to your streaming platform of choice, and you're going to go to The Style, and you're going to go to Apple Blossom, and you're going to hit play on that bad boy, and I'm going to sit here patiently. Hit pause now. Okay, welcome back. What a great song. We have a great conversation coming up. The reason that I ask you, the glorious, lovely, kind listeners, to listen to these songs, we all have them. We've got the vinyl. We've got them downloaded. We've got them in our library. But if we start making that little blip on the streaming data increase every week with the song that we cover, more and more people begin to pay attention. And that's what we're all about doing on this show to achieve our goals. And our lofty goals. And if you're new here, and this is your first week listening, let me tell you really quick what we do here. We are covering every single song in the White Stripes catalog. If it was released, we're covering it. There's 100-something songs that we're going to cover. And each week it will be Actually, somebody at the concert gave me grief for saying we would pick a random song, and they wanted me to say assorted. I don't know if it is applicable, but for that person behind me in line leaving the Jack White show this week, we take one assorted song every week, and we discuss it with a guest. This week, it's Kevvy. Our goal on this show is to eventually make enough noise, grow this footprint, drum up enough buzz that our main man, Jack White, Johnny Guitars, he comes on and speaks about songs. And to make it even more lofty, my goal is for him to come on 3 different times to speak on 3 different songs. Now, if you're wondering what those songs are, I can assure you, I will not tell you. I have not told anybody. People have given me their thoughts, their picks, their predictions, and they are not met with a yes or a no. So that's what we're doing here on the Hardest Podcast, a podcast. Thank you for coming along on this journey. If you did not hit pause, go to your streaming platform of choice and listen to Apple Blossom off to Style. Do that right now. And when you hit pause, you could also go to buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. Buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod is a delightful and helpful way that you can support our show. You can help fund the business card printing to hand out to people in line and to grow our footprint and to spread the word of this show. Call it a tip, call it whatever you'd like. What we do with the money we have received so far is we reinvest it right back into the show. So if you like what we're doing and you've rated and reviewed us on your platforms of choice and all that lovely stuff, and you want to do a little more, buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. I'm done yammering. Let's talk to Kevvy. Our guest this week is the lead singer of the great band Fake Shark. Go listen to their new single, I'm With Stupid, featuring Pat Gillett of Down with Webster. And they're about to embark on the Fake Bastards tour with Johnny Manchild and the Poor Bastards. This is Kevvy. Kevvy, how are you doing today?
Hi. I'm great, thank you. My cat just got surgery and he's in the studio with me, so if he jumps on my lap, a sympathy purr, meow, he would love either one of those things. Thank you.
That's a great heads up. That would be distracting. Is the cat a little doped up right now?
No, he's good. He had like a little bump on his spine, so we took him in and they poked it with a needle, and he's in a good mood. Weird guy.
I appreciate. I mean, I appreciate somebody being a good pet owner.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
cat's name?
Magic Mew. He was found in the shrubs of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, the famous haunted hotel.
Oh,
And it's weird because he was like homeless, but I think like I used to help at a cat rescue there,
Mhm.
and one thing that we would encounter a lot was people would adopt kittens, and then when they were no longer kittens, they just put them outside.
Oh, that's cool.
I think he was. Yes, it's great. So I think he was one of those guys because he had like a collar on, like he'd been, was someone's cat, but
Yeah.
it was like choking him. So I think he grew. He got too
Yeah.
big, and it was like too. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, found in the shrubs of the Cecil Hotel. Adopted him, brought him back to Vancouver. Now he has his own apartment in Vancouver by the water. Pretty cool.
The cat's doing
Not
pretty
bad.
damn good.
Yeah, he's doing better than me.
You're not going on tour to pay for those medical bills, are you?
Yeah. You gotta go out there and make some money to support my cat. Yeah.
So I've asked a lot of people this, and so now there's a strict rule. Excluding the "Fell in Love with a Girl" Lego music video, what's one of the things that really stood out or resonated to you about the White Stripes?
When that song came out, I guess that was like their first big single. I was so into metal, but all my friends were like hipsters that they all liked it, and I was like, I don't know about this. And then I don't know, like my music taste changed. The band that changed my music taste, there's two of them really to get into sort of more indie rock and stuff like other genres, whatever, was the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Block Party, and they had both put out great records like shortly after that. That the bands came out. And the Hives was like a heavy version of this kind of stuff.
Totally.
And so I came to White Stripes like a little bit late,
Mhm.
actually. Like I it was one of those things where I like secretly liked it, but I was like, yeah, but they're no Dillinger Escape Plan or whatever I was into at the time. So yeah, that was all my friends like loved them.
Oh, yeah.
And it took me a second, and then I remember they took over Conan as the musical guest for a whole week.
That's
and I'm
right.
like a massive Conan fan, and they were the only band on for one whole week, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, we did Let's Build a Home in a previous episode, and just I can't tell you how much of that episode was discussing. Yeah, so them doing that medley the last night of Conan, which blew everybody's mind and just sold. I can't imagine how many tickets it sold for the Elephant Tour. Yeah, that was pretty sick.
Yeah. Well, another cool thing is that the first. I don't know if it was the first time they came to Vancouver, because I saw that they played the Piccadilly Pub, which is crazy. I didn't know that. But I think when they played the Plaza of Nations, like I wasn't there or anything, but I just found out that this band that I loved called I'm a Robot opened.
I was there for that. Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
Did you see I'm a Robot?
Yeah. I was 15. My dad had to drive me and 3 friends to the show. I had to buy him a ticket. He had a nice time.
That's cool.
But I'm a Robot opened up, and the last song they played was Black Jettas, which really tore the
Black
house down.
Jettas. That's the secret song on their first record.
That's right. And I was like, we went and bought it, and we couldn't find it. And then once we had the attention span to listen to the whole thing, we're like, oh, there it is. But they opened. He went on to form Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, which is such a both ends of the spectrum. You love the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. The White Stripes covered they covered Man that night.
Oh, cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a Robot, like a little while after that, came on their own headlining tour. And they played a little venue, and I had to get a fake ID to go. And the band that opens Head Automatica, you know Head Automatica?
I don't.
It's the singer of the hardcore band Glassjaw. It's his pop project that was him and the producer who did the Gorillaz stuff with Damon Albarn. So
wow,
it was this disco-y funk thing opening for I'm a Robot, and I'm a Robot had Beck's bass player, Justin Meldell Johnson, I think is his
Yeah.
name, who then went on to play in Nine Inch Nails. So, yeah. So anyway, I know we're talking more about I'm a Robot than White Stripes right now. I apologize.
Hey, every good podcast has 5 to 6 minutes of nonsensical banter, and you could link most of those bands you mentioned back to the White Stripes or Jack White.
It's true.
But today we're diving into a tremendous song off of the Style album. It's track 4, recorded in Jack White's living room. It is Apple Blossom. I listened to this song about 4 times on loop on my way home today from work.
Yeah.
Just putting it on. What stands out to you as you're a musician, you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
What putting on Apple Blossom, what's the kind of the first thing you take away from it?
Well, it's a very loopable song, so I guarantee you weren't bored of it by the time. It's also short as hell.
202 or something.
Yeah, I love that. It wasn't a single, but when the Greatest Hits collection came out 20 years after the song, it did have an animated video. So it's kind of like a focus track. One thing I noticed production-wise is that it starts off really slow, it ends really fast, so they're not playing to a click track. I was reading about how this was the song they recorded, or I guess he recorded like right when their divorce was finalized. I don't know if that's true or not.
I was seeing that. Because the divorce was in January. Yeah, there was in March. This album came out in June, and their first televised performance ever was on this like cable show we'll talk about a bit later.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, you just wrote this song. This song has not been perfected live, and you're still thinking about how to play it. So all of that's
so
fresh
cool
in the mind right now in this era.
Yeah, I just don't know how they're married because they're brother and sister, right?
That's the thing, and that's why you can't like a band that's just so full of lies, right?
Yeah, write some truths next time, Jack. Another thing I noticed is there's no chorus in the song, which is cool. But it's the same melody kind of the whole way through, but no repeating lyrics, which I love. And then the piano is like wildly off time, and I love that. I think they just record stuff in the first take is usually the take, and I love that.
Yeah, this I couldn't tell listening back if this is a song that was recorded on acoustic guitar or if it was recorded like what was the first take? Was it on the piano? Was it on the acoustic guitar? Or it was. Yeah, and that is a very common thing with this band is is it sound fine? Does anybody screw up too bad? No? Okay, next one. Like, Rag and Bone off Icky Thump is one of their probably the most famous examples. There's like 3 different versions of the song, one on the CD, one on the vinyl LP, and then the single, and they're all different. And it's like they did 3 takes, and they're like, well, they're all they're all different. I'm not saying that they only did 3 takes, but they're like, I know that Rag and Bone, one of them was like the first time they played it in studio. And man, this song kind of, I was listening today and I was like, and I've heard this song hundreds of times and I've seen it, bootlegs, live, whatever. Sitting there listening, I'm like, this song starts on acoustic guitar with the upstrokes, and I'm like, I completely spaced out for 25 years. I always thought it was all like all piano the whole time, that whole honky tonk piano, and I'm like, this is a versatile song, and I believe it's an A minor, so which immediately, it kind of has that kind of downer. Dour, sad tone to it. And then I immediately think to Spinal Tap, where they say that the saddest chord in the world is D minor for his piano ballad called "Lick My Love Pump."
Great reference.
Thank you.
Great reference.
But this is it's a very unique song, and when I was listening to it today, when I go through the White Stripes catalog, like there are so many songs that you just shouldn't or couldn't cover as a band.
Yeah.
I would put Apple Blossom on the maybe pile. Like there is it's you can hear the guitar and you can hear the piano and the drums. So it's like you could imagine
Sure.
another person or a full band playing it. But it's a very dynamic song. Like you said, it
Mm-hmm.
starts off slow, ends fast,
Mm-hmm.
ends louder and a little more bombastic. It's there's something to work with on this song. I don't know about you.
Well, here's the thing I think about a lot of their music around this time
Mhm.
is that I imagine, like, I think a lot of people discovered the song in Hateful Eight, and I bet people who didn't know it and heard it there thought it was from the 60s and thought maybe it was the Beatles or something like
Yeah.
that. Like the sort of like their ability to write songs that feel like instant classics. I don't know if anyone's done it better than that, and I really don't think anyone since has done it as good as that. You know what I mean?
I mean, we're still early on in this podcast, but like the number of timeless, like incredible songs that could have been
Yeah.
released in 1955 or 2000 or 2025, like
Yeah.
it's adding up. And
Yeah,
this
could have been a Lead Belly song or something like that.
It's funny you bring that up and specifically mention the Beatles because in a New York Times review, Ann Powers said, or no, it was a Pitchfork said this could be Apple Blossoms could be an outtake off Revolver, and I'm like,
Yeah,
Jesus, yeah, it could have.
Yeah, man, Pitchfork love the bands they love, and they really don't like the bands they don't like. I like how they gave a Tool album 0 out of 10. It's like, come on, guys. Come on.
They did their best. It is an authentic artistic expression. It's a little higher than than that score. Come on, pal.
Yeah, I remember they had Pitchfork did an article on a Mudvayne album, and it got 0 out of 10. And the entire write up was, "Come back, Cold Chamber. We're so sorry."
Pitchfork famously gave Elephant a rather snarky negative review and basically
Really
called the White Stripes selling fast food versions of the blues, and they gave Elephant like a 6 or a 6.9, and 20 years after that review came out, Jack posted it on his Instagram.
Love
and
it.
I'm like, I respect that level of pettiness, because if they revisited the album 20 years later, like they always do, that number would be juiced up to about a 9.
Oh, 100%. I think they did that with Radiohead too.
Yeah,
but they did you ever see the Onion article where it was Pitchfork Media gives music 3.4 out of 10?
Music is just very inconsistent. There's
just not that, it's not that good.
The highs are high, but those lows are lows.
They also had David Cross, who's like one of my favorite comedians, come on to, I forget what it was, like do some kind of interview, but they'd famously given both his comedy albums like 1 out of 10. So his whole article, he's like, I know I'm supposed to interview this person, but let's just talk about why do they even want me here? They clearly don't like me. It was funny
because they're gonna pop a number and hey, let's not forget about the things we said snarkily 5 years ago.
Okay, that's caveat number 2. First was I'm a Robot. Now we're just talking about Pitchfork. Let's get to Apple Blossom. I'm sorry.
All right, let's dive into these lyrics. Kevvy, you're a songwriter. You've written very good songs. I have written very bad songs 25 years ago in high school. When you're reading these lyrics, when you're diving into them, where does it take you?
Okay, so this song I kind of just always took as being about someone like a guy who just wants to be the hero to a girl he likes. But I don't know if you went through songmeanings.com and everybody's opinions on what this song's about, but everyone who had like my opinion on it got shot down by some know-it-all who was like, this is possessive and this guy's horrible and he's just trying to hook up with virgins. And I was like, what?
Whoa. May I ask where the V card comes out in these lyrics? Because there aren't too many of them.
I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but that had like a lot of upvotes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it made me think, like, you know how some musicians' fan bases are just like condescending? I don't think I realized, but I think White Stripes like has a fan base. Not everyone, but they do. A portion of their fans are like, "You don't get it, you idiots. It's really about this." But Jack White has been playing. Like, he plays it solo. He's been, you know what I mean? Like, it's like one of his favorite of his songs.
Yeah.
So it's pretty weird to see a bunch of people arguing about the meaning of it. But I always just thought it was like a romantic song about trying to be a hero to someone that you care about.
Yeah.
That being said, you never hear her side of it. So maybe they're right. I don't know.
It's a good point. You make a great point, because
Yeah.
when I was listening to it, I'm like, okay, you know, you could have called this song like Milady Blossom or something, because
Yeah.
he's, you tell all your troubles to these guys and they don't care about you, which is like, which is, I don't know, I'm sure everybody's been there in the, she only dates jerks and she wouldn't like a nice guy with me. So I'm going to say right now, we are not saying this is an incel song. And this is
I don't think so.
And Jack White, we talked about last couple of weeks. He is the furthest thing from a autobiographical songwriter. So we're not diving into an incel conversation here.
We're not saying that, guys. We're not saying that. Okay, we love him.
Yeah, but he's also saying, like, if you're in a boat and it's sinking, and I'll know because of, like, sonar or radar, and I'll come get you. So
yeah, I think it's a lovely thing to say to somebody.
Yeah, like, probably in its most pure and genuine terms, this was written in probably the late 90s, but long before the internet ruined society. And he's just like, hey, I want to be a nice person, and I also got some feelings for this gal. I want her to be the apple blossom of my eye.
Yeah, it's very romantic.
Yeah.
So you guys on songmeanings.com need to go to some therapy and quit mansplaining our favorite artists' lyrics to us, okay?
Not a bad idea. That's our call to action this week.
Yeah, those of you just listening to this podcast, not watching it, I'm shaking my head.
There's a couple of lyrics that are quite cute that stand out for me. I really like, put your troubles in a little pile and I'll sort them out for you. Like, he just wants to be a helpful guy.
Dude, I don't think anyone but Jack White can write cute lyrics that are badass.
What do you mean?
I'd say that their music is badass.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the, like, I think they have riffs that people will play in the same way a lot of people picked up a guitar and learned Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Sure, yeah.
But it's not, it's still the lyrical content that he can get away with, I think most people can't.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is that Meg's in the band too. So when they rock, it's different than just a bunch of dudes on stage. So I feel like that enables him to be a little bit more sensitive. If it's just a bunch of dudes on stage, I don't think he can get away with these lyrics if it's like Seven Dust or something like that. But
Dust.
I got great band, not slagging them. But yeah, I'm just saying it's like the sort of innocence of us thinking they were siblings at one point, and then there's just two of them, so you're kind of rooting for them. I don't know. I just think he and they can get away with more than any other rock band. So that's all I was saying.
I really like what you just said there, and that's we were rooting for them.
Yeah.
I can't think of another band that I have liked or been crazy about, or just like led me to start a in-depth, serious podcast about 2 decades after they, form, where it's like, this is a band that you rooted for. It's like there was this real authenticity, and they're doing it this kind of their own unique ass way that, sure, in one side of your brain it's like, oh, it's kind of weird, but then you're like, that's pretty damn cool. And
there's just 2 of them, guys. Let's root for them.
Hell.
There's only 2 of them. It's not like there's 9 of them like Slipknot. I'm just gonna keep making metal references all the way through this whole episode.
I think you should, and I'm all for that. Especially, do you know that Jack White and Lars Ulrich are very good friends?
Wow, I did not know that. I know Jack White's friends with Insane Clown Posse.
I know that too.
Detroit.
But yeah, Jack was. If you watch the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend episode with Lars Ulrich, there's a good clip about him and Jack White, and Jack's
awesome.
always getting him to come over. But there's a bunch of photos of Jack White with like Anthrax and Pantera. No, this is from like last week. He went to see Metallica on the 72 Seasons tour to see his good pal Lars in Nashville. And there's like all these photos of him crushing Miller Lights with like the fucking all the metal guys.
My man, dear to my heart. That's my favorite beer.
God, it's a simple, effective beer. No fuss. All
Exactly.
business.
I was just watching A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica, and at one point, Lars has a Miller Lite T-shirt. Where do I get it? On Facebook Marketplace, I found a Miller Lite inflatable chair, $250 for some reason. Not buying it, but it's pretty cool it exists.
If you had the opportunity to wear just that Lars Ulrich like Miller Lite tee on tour this month coming up, I think that'd be a really good look for you.
I think you're right. Somebody I know has a Miller Lite tattoo that was a stick and poke done by the singer of Peach Pit, and so that's a pretty good tattoo.
That's very damn cool.
That's one of Mike Noble's friends, actually. I'll confirm who it is by the end of this podcast.
That sounds great. Meg, took some time to listen to her drumming today. I'm a big sucker for the bass drum. Sorry, the floor tom snare, kind of heavier style, which is kind of prominent in this song as it carries on and gets heavier. Yeah. I think that her style of drumming to this song gives this song a lot more oomph than maybe it would have if a normie artist would have taken the reins. Sure.
You know what? One interesting thing when you said that when you went back and listened to it, like for this episode, you didn't notice that it started with guitar and not piano.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's such an easy listen, and I just kind of focus on his vocal melody and the guitar lead, which is the same melody. I can't even think of how the drums go. Like it's just like so perfectly done, and that's actually like such a compliment to the groove and the songwriting, I think.
Yeah, and like you said off the top, they're not playing with a click track. It probably was in a handful of takes, and have a song like it encompasses so much, and it takes you on this journey. Like, this is just dissecting this song really has kind of just shined a different light on it, but the light that was already shining on it was really damn good, because this is a staple. Oh man, what was the other thing about this song?
I'll say while you think of that, it was recorded to 8-track tape, and so I think that there was probably no edits on this song.
No, and like even on White Blood Cells, and they kind of went into a professional studio, because the first two White Stripes albums are done in Jack's living room. They're with a professional engineer, and he's like, "Hey, don't make it sound too good." Like he still wants it to sound real.
That's awesome.
This song has been played a handful of different ways, like on piano, or predominantly on piano, all on guitar, or a combination of both. In terms of live recordings, do you have a preference or one that you kind of like a bit more?
I think this one on the album, like I kind of rediscovered it through Hateful Eight, and actually not that long ago. Once again, it's like, it's funny. I don't know how into like Tarantino's soundtracks and stuff you are, but he swears he doesn't like really think about it. Like he said like, yeah, we were doing the edit, and I don't know, I just went and grabbed a bunch of records and CDs and just kind of like threw it together. I don't believe that. I think he the first time he heard the song, he probably knew it should go into a movie, and he probably wrote the scene around it. Like the scene in the movie is like, it's crazy. It's on YouTube. And the part right before the song comes in is maybe the most offensive, unwoke moment in cinema history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where the character from Hateful Eight that's going to be hung. She calls Samuel L. Jackson the N-word, and then Kurt Russell punches her in the face, and then this song comes on. So, sorry, he elbows her in the face, and then the song comes on.
Aggressive.
Even worse.
I noticed this. I have not, I've as a straight white male, as you can imagine, I've dabbled in my Tarantino films, but I have not seen The Hateful Eight. Do you recommend it?
You got to see it. It's interesting. Like, I'm pretty massive like director's fan. Like I love movies where I love the directors typically.
For sure.
One thing I read about this movie is that he wrote it like a play.
Okay.
And so even when there's characters in the background speaking, they have written dialogue they're reciting. So if you hear what they're saying, it actually adds to the story. So there's a reason to like watch it several times.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And I think like that type of, I don't know. I mean, Jack's a cinephile himself and appreciates the arts. I can imagine, those efforts, going to those lengths to make your film that unique and that special. That would probably lead you to, hey, here you go. Here you go.
Yeah.
Right in the least woke part of the show. Go nuts.
Yeah. Well, then another interesting thing is that Third Man released the vinyl version of the soundtrack to Hateful Eight, which is really cool. Yeah. And when I saw Hateful Eight in the theater, it had an intermission for like 20 minutes or something where just this Ennio Morricone score played and you went and got more popcorn or whatever it is that you do. Vaped.
So you went to the bathroom and vaped. Okay.
I went, yeah, exactly. Got kicked out, got back in, and watched the rest of the movie. And it was cool. It was a 35 millimeter print, and so a lot of theaters had to have that kind of thing installed so they could do that.
That's That's an extreme to have your craft performed the correct way.
Yeah, it was cool too. Like I was saying before, I was in LA quite a bit for a while. Tarantino took all the 35 millimeter prints to the ArcLight Cinema when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, and you could watch them. And I went to Death Proof, which I love that movie. I'm not sure if you've seen that one. And I could hear like some maniac like laughing his head off in the back of the theater, and then the lights came up and it was him. He was like watching his own movie and like dying laughing at it. And then I met him after, and I have a Pulp Fiction tattoo, and I showed him, and he was so stoked, and I put it on my Instagram, so you can go see me.
I will. I love Pulp Fiction. I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, I might need to get something on there. Back to Apple Blossom. When I was listening to it, this is I don't know. You mentioned a great point about like Tarantino definitely heard this song as like I'm writing a scene around it. Yeah. Because it's a short song, but it goes on this journey, and I'm listening to it, and it just like my first thought was like a Wes Anderson movie or like some sort of Flight of the Conchords music video of like there's a guy playing a song on the rocks, looking at his girl, with the boat or something, and then like he throws the guitar away, and all of a sudden it picks up and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. Like it is, this could be in a musical. If there was a musical about the White Stripes, Apple Blossom would be a prominent fixture in it.
I just love that Jack White doesn't really have. He doesn't restrict his songwriting. I feel like I said, the song has no chorus necessarily, and I respect that. But he can write a 3-chord pop song as well, which he has and has had like big success with. But I like that he has never limited himself. There's certain people that I feel like are just like always inspired. They don't shut themselves down creatively ever, and I just really respect that.
If you were to ask, to poll people, like what's a Jack White, what's a stereotypical Jack White song? Like there's probably like 5 or 6 different ones that kind of stand out. Like, you got a screaming guitar heavy one. You've got a piano one that has no chorus that is incredibly catchy. You've got this like soft ballad acoustic guitar that you can't think a man could sing in a higher, or a person could sing in a higher, softer voice that just like delivering.
Yeah, totally. And I've always thought Jack White looked like a drawing Tim Burton did.
Because he looked like Beetlejuice?
I don't know. He looks like Edward Scissorhands or something.
Yeah.
Just... That's a compliment.
Oh, and
I was a teenage goth. That's a compliment.
People like, he took the Robert Smith torch and ran with it. And like, if you got weird straight hair, you're looking at Jack White and be like, I think I know it could work for me.
Yeah, I think I know what to do here. Need some shoe polish.
Let's move into our next segment which we call Little Room, Big Impact, as we discuss the song's legacy. Like you were saying, this song it took on a second life with a broader audience for being featured quite predominantly, like you would say, in the Hateful Eight, and just the timelessness and unique, sound of this album or this song. That this broad audience is going, oh, who is that? Is that a Beatles song or is it a song from the 60s? And I go, oh, it's the White Stripes.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I was surprised that he used it because he typically, I remember thinking like, wow, this is a very current song for him to use because he normally uses music from the 60s and 70s. And then like before this, in Inglourious Bastards, he used a David Bowie song, and I was surprised by that too.
Oh, Cat Power.
No,
what's it called? Cat.
I can't think. Oh, the Cats from Goddamn. Everyone's so mad at us right now for not having the title.
Cat People Putting Out the Fire.
There you go.
And he used that original version because there is a Let's Dance 80s kind of jazzed up version, but he used the Haunting original one.
Oh, that's cool. And then I guess before Hateful Eight was Django, and he used like Tupac, and it was like, man, he's really experimenting with like anachronistic timelines with like more current music in older films, and I thought that was really cool. People really didn't like that. Like a friend of mine, I remember, he's like, "That's lame." I disagree. I think it's do whatever you want. Like, I also love that he would change history in the storyline, and I thought that was so much fun. Like,
not everything needs to be a perfect period piece.
yeah.
The critical perspective, critics have often cited Apple Blossom as an example of Jack White's ability to work within a vintage American music tradition. Yeah. By that we mean old-timey honky-tonk piano, because that thing, just the keyboards and the organ in that song just take it to a next level. And others suggest it's probably one of the band's more tender songs in their catalog, up there with like We Are Gonna Be Friends. And like you were saying, like they can get away with writing about whatever they want, however they want, because they're cool as hell and Meg's in the band.
Yeah, and you can have a song in a movie like Hateful Eight and then Napoleon Dynamite right before that.
That's right. Are the two most some say emotionally complex songs have been licensed to movies in very, very unique ways.
I'm sure there's more too. And the song on Napoleon Dynamite's very cutesy.
Yeah. And I remember that was like that movie came out in 2004, and I was in my teenage. There's no way the White Stripes would ever sell out anyway. And I remember, like everybody our age rented Napoleon. Saw Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Oh,
do you think he knows about this? Does Jack know?
Oh yeah, this? I also was like that. Like my bands won't sell out, dude. Yeah. I've had so much music and commercials, and it's the best way to make a living as a musician. It's the best. I love it.
And I'm sure Jack White would say the same thing. Right out of COVID, that lead single off of Fear of the Dawn was in the Call of Duty commercial. Sometimes you got to get paid.
Nothing beats the Ween song they wrote for Pizza Hut, which Pizza Hut didn't use because it was way too offensive.
I'm sure the check still cleared, though.
I think it did.
You were mentioning Pitchfork earlier. So this album, To Style, came out 2000 off of Sympathy for the Record Industry label, their independent album or their independent label out of LA. And then when they got big, when White Blood Cells popped off, their back catalog, their first two albums were re-released under V2 and XL. So with those major label reviews, Pitchfork came in and said, we gotta tell you what we think of this. They gave a combined review of the first two albums, and they got an 8.3, so they liked it. Okay. And they wrote the acoustic sweep of I'm Bound to Pack It Up manages to homage The Who, Floyd, The Kinks, and Zepp. not to mention its lofty adherence to the rambling wanderer tradition. The crisp apple blossom could be a Revolver outtake. So they were sensing in 2002 that this is some timeless ass sounding music. This isn't
that should have been the review.
Timeless, like the White Stripes get lumped in with the garage rock revival, and that's fine because that was what was happening at the time. But it's like musically, they're so vastly different from the Strokes, the Hives, the Vines, and but they all kind of play through old timey amps, so they all got lumped in. But they were leaps and bounds ahead of them, I would say. Yeah,
I agree. I guess it's kind of like the grunge movement where, the big four don't really sound like each other.
No,
I guess Alice in Chains and Soundgarden you could kind of, because I don't know, that makes the most sense. But Nirvana sounds nothing like Alice in Chains to me. And then the bands, I think you could say the same thing. Like the Hives was like a punk band, like it was like a
punk band,
through. Like a hardcore band almost. Like he screams everything. By the way, my favorite live band ever is the Hives.
I would agree.
Yeah,
one of the best concerts I ever saw was the Hives at the Commodore in 2008. Saw him at the Rickshaw last year, and I'll see him at the Commodore again this year.
I saw him. I was at that Rickshaw show, and that was the most packed I've ever seen that venue, or maybe any venue. That was crazy.
It was like so good.
Yeah, I loved that album.
What's it called? The Death of Randy Fitzsimmons. Yes,
you got it.
I just remember at that show having a handful of beers and then being like, "I'm just gonna walk like right through the pit." And I wound up, I'm like, I'm a big enough, like, what's going to happen? And I just kept going, and I was right up front for the last handful of songs. And
awesome. It
was a great night.
That was great. My whole band went.
Hell yeah. What a field trip.
Yeah, it was good. So anyway, those bands really sounded nothing like either, but they're kind of put in a genre just by, publications. But I actually think the Strokes had a handful of songs that felt timeless also.
No question.
Like when you first heard it, it already felt like a classic and like it had existed for a long time already or something.
Yeah, there was a hand, like the big tracks off of Is This It were, you felt when you listened to them, there is something very special about them. And it's, you can, timeless, describing a song as timeless can be a cliched as hell, or it could be pretty damn accurate. And
I think it's accurate.
Yeah. And I would say Apple Blossom is quite timeless as well.
I agree.
In an interview with the Detroit Metro Times, they did a big special on them May 30th, 2001. They're gearing up for they're gearing up for White Blood Cells to come out. And the reporter asked, I don't know what the question was, but it was about nice gestures or nice things that they've great things that have happened to them as a band. And they say the best thing that's ever happened to the two of them as a band, and they both agree, can be found on a video cassette. A week or two ago, they were sent a tape of a class of first and second graders in Kalamazoo singing the words to Apple Blossom as their teacher played along on guitar. I started crying, Jack admits. This teacher, she played songs for her kids and she taught them this song. It's really great, I thought. You can't top that. If it's gotten to that, how can you top that?
Yeah. And then she went on songmeaning.com and struck it from the curriculum. Just kidding.
This Apple Blossom, it's in terms of its legacy with the band, like you said, it made the Greatest Hits album despite not being a single. Very prominent live song, and just I think a song that really showcases just how dynamic the band can be in terms of their songwriting. Like it's very hard to put this song in a box.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a perfect encapsulation of like, this is a tiny little band and then it becomes just a gigantic band. And it's pretty damn cool to look back on. we have a segment on the show about the music video. There was not one. But you can watch them perform because they love the song so much on Under Blackpool Lights in 2004.
So I thought when the Greatest Hits came out, there's an animated video for this song that came out 20 years after, and it's on their official YouTube. Does that not count?
I mean, I make the rules here, and I'm saying it doesn't count.
Okay, fair enough.
Because they also did one for Black Math, and I'm like, and Ball and a Biscuit, and I'm like, there was a very weird MTV2 video for Black Math back in the day.
Yeah.
Good sir. But yeah, you can watch them play Apple Blossom on Blackpool Lights or Great White Northern Lights. And yeah, as we were saying and saying through this show, it is a White Stripes live performance staple. It's their 16th most performed song live. They played it 209 times.
Wow.
And it was first played March 3rd. It was first played live March 3rd, 2000. So to put that into perspective, in this, they first play it live March 3rd. Jack White has always said that all White Stripes songs are covers of Jack White songs because he would just come with these songs. Meg would, with her approach to drumming, her childlike approach, would just let's figure out how we can play with, she would just figure it out. Mm-hmm. So in prep for this, I was looking at live versions of Apple Blossom, and they had their first televised a performance ever, and it was on a community television magazine-like show. It felt like Detroit's Urban Rush, or whatever. Okay. Yeah, and it's called Backstage Pass, and they perform Apple Blossom and they perform Death Letter, and that was on May 28th. So I kind of got the sense watching this performance, and I encourage everyone to go do it, because you look at a band with, I'm not saying they have zero confidence, but they are like still trying to find their identity and find what works. Because I don't know about you, but if I was watching this performance, I'd be like, oh, who are these lovable schmucks wearing the same color clothes?
Yeah, it's cute.
Do you does Fake Shark have a televised performance, or a performance that you think back to, like, we had no idea what we were doing?
Yeah. My old band did a bunch of college performances in the UK, mm-hmm. and yeah, I like now. I feel like if you come see our live show, which I recommend you do, I feel like every moment is accounted for, because I don't want a single second of our live show to be boring.
Hell yeah.
So it's all, we leave moments for improvisation, and it's not quite the same every night, but I just really, I really pay attention to the audience reaction. We shuffle things around and cut things down or whatever. I wasn't really doing that when I first started, because it was like, whatever, man, I'm just going to get out there and do what I do. And then it's like, now I'm like a quality control guy big time. I think it's part of like being a music producer. It's like, hey, this part's going on a little fucking long. Maybe we should cut it in half or all together. So absolutely. There's, in fact, I don't even want to see some of those performances. My band is so divided, where Lewis, my guitar player, he and I went to high school together.
Yeah.
He's so nostalgic and in love with the past of things, and I'm so like, ugh, like we're so much better now. Like, yeah. I don't even want to see that. Yeah,
I love that, and it's just, I mean, you're hearing exactly from either side of the spectrum, or let's learn from it. No, we've already learned from it. Let's pretend it doesn't exist.
Oh, it's definitely on the spectrum.
This Apple Blossom, 209 times it was played live, and it was played at their last proper show on July 31st, 2007 at the Snowden Grove Amphitheater in South Haven, Missouri. Kevvy, in case you didn't know, on the Icky Thump tour, they did their cross Canada, playing every province and territory. And as a Canadian touring musician, you can only imagine how much that cost. Okay. And then they went and played big arenas, and then they're like, well, we're going to finish this tour off with a proper tour of the South, because they are so inspired by the blues.
Wow.
And yeah, this song has been played in Vancouver, where we're based out of, 3 times. And you mentioned it earlier before we got going that I wrote that they played it at the Piccadilly Pub.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Piccadilly Pub?
Yes.
Were you ever old enough to get in there?
No, I don't think so. And I remember like when I was in that like tech metal era, like this band I liked called Genghis Tron played there, and I was like, oh, I want to go. I think it was at UBC, right?
No, that's the Pit Pub.
Wow, I don't even think I know about Piccadilly Pub.
Okay, so the Piccadilly Pub was a dive ass place that was on Pender.
Yeah.
Next to the Burger King there, like by Malone's. And it was a dank ass shithole. And somehow the White Stripes played there in December of 2000. And it quickly became the everybody was there, once they blew up. I'm sure there was 10 people there, and it was on a Wednesday night. But as soon as White Blood Cells comes out and they're playing on the MTV Awards there. Yeah, sure. I was at the Piccadilly that night.
Yeah, of course. I stepped on a cockroach there. But yeah, like the other version of that is that Radiohead played the Railway Club.
That's right, yeah.
And everyone claims to have been there too. And in fact, I think it's on the lyrics to a Radiohead song are like written on the stairs there.
That's
like
cool.
They really like lean into like how proud they are of it. It's pretty cool.
And no knock to Radiohead because it's an incredible band. They probably could have really sucked at that time.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just the magic of sort of like a new band's enthusiasm. It probably was awesome no matter what, like, so I like to think they were good. I don't know.
we were all there as
we were there. Yeah.
Back in 97.
Stepped on a cockroach.
Stepped on a damn cockroach.
Also, I found out a friend of mine, Logan from X Radio in Calgary, XFM, is the one with the Miller Lite tattoo. So shout out, Logan. That rules. Jealous of you, as always.
Keeping the scene alive.
Yeah.
Kevvy, this is a great conversation about...
This is great, man. Thanks for having me.
Apple Blossom. I keep finding... each song we're doing is a prominent and important one. I'm looking forward to a dud that we can say there's not much there to this one.
Bring me back for a bad one.
Yeah, I'll bring you back for I don't even want to be like I'll bring you back for Slicker Drips off the first album because I mean I could go back and like it's a pretty good loud song.
Yeah.
Closing remarks on this White Stripes song.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got?
I think that there are several different great versions of it, and it shows Jack White's dynamic ability to sort of recreate the same sentiment artistically in different ways, and it really does show, I think, what a genius he is. And I like I said, I've said it so many times, but I love that this song is incredibly catchy without repeating a single part.
All right. That was Kevvy of Fake Shark. Go listen to them. They're good boys. Buy their records if you can. And we've got another episode coming up next week. You don't know what it is. You don't know what song it is. But I do. And I'm not going to tell you. Quick little Jack White progress report. Despite being in the same room twice together last week, he somehow did not hear about the Hardest Podcast to Podcast. But he's gonna. And then he'll be here. And that's when I'll say, Jack, I'd really like it if you could send me one of those triple casters. They're pretty expensive. And we just haven't gotten enough money. Or buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. The Hardest Podcast to Podcast is hosted and produced by Ryan Schaap. Artwork by Catlin Likely. Amanda Schultz is our assistant editorial producer. Mike Noble is our Gato.